This was actually the very first week that I was in. So I was in Ehime, right? I was in Ozu. If there's any other Shikoku folks in here that know where that town is. Um, and so this was the first or second week we were there. We hadn't even gotten our K ties yet, and my Japanese was pretty poor to begin with. And Ozu was like the big city or the big town of our area. Oh, I mean, it had like 30,000 people in the greater area. So that was pretty decent. I was in a much more rural spot, which I didn't think was that far away, down a river, on the coast. And I had gone into Ozu to hang out with a couple of the Jets who were teaching in that area. And there was a direct train line back. We had a really fun kind of night exploring the area, as one does when they're in the a new person. And um, you know, night goes on. It's getting late, and drinks had been flowing, right? So it's kind of time though. It's the end of the night. It's the last call, if you will, as far as we were concerned. Everybody was still kind of jet lagged. So we say our goodbyes. It's somewhere between 10 and 11 o'clock at night. And, I do find my way to the train station. Fortunately, right. I was a little bit worried about that because, again, no cell phones. This was also, I was in 2006 when I first got there. So this was, Google Maps wasn't even a thing on your phone at that point. And anyway, went to the train station only to, there's also no English on their, on their board. So it took me a really long time. Fortunately, I had the kanji written down of where I lived. And the train station was basically like, there was only a couple lights on. There was one billboard. There was one last train. However, it was not going where I lived because, as it turns out, the last train to my town was at like 8 o'clock at night. And I was like way, way past what that was going to be. And I mean, I didn't even know where the other Jets lived if I, sorry, I have a cat disrupting here. So I could have gone back to their places. I had no idea where anybody was. And I lacked the Japanese to get in a taxi or ask them where to go. But there was a map. There was a map, of the region at the train station, right? And it showed a single road going from Ozu to Nagahama, where I lived. I was like, sweet, this doesn't look that far. I'm just gonna walk it, you know. Sorry, cat round number two. So I'm gonna walk it. Doesn't look like it's that far. I was kind of looking at the scale of blocks. Turns out this map isn't really to scale though. Uh, I actually just Google mapped it tonight because I couldn't remember how far it actually is. It's like 15 kilometers. Um, didn't really realize that at the time. So, but you've got that liquid courage, and so you're just kind of like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make it there. It'll be no problem. So I start walking. Again, fortunately, it was a one-shot kind of road to get there. But I kept having. I don't think it's very common in this area to have some random tall white guy walking down the street at night, especially when you're in between these little hamlets, right, as you're going through. And eventually, I just had some random car, and this was probably, I don't know, an hour or two later, as I'm still walking and still very much wondering if I'm going the right direction, hoping that it's the right direction. Uh, I don't know if I had my Gaijin card with me or not, to be honest. Probably. I hope so. I think I pretty much had it with me all the time. Uh, anyway, this car pulled over, and this old man was just like, he just kind of started talking to me in Japanese, of which I didn't understand, but I didn't know how to say, oh, wakarimasen, wakarimasen. And yeah, ghost car, exactly. Yeah, he took pity on me. So, he kind of, and then it's in like, he knows like 5 words of English, which were basically like American. I think pretty much the only foreigners in that area were basically teachers. So that was kind of a known thing. And you know, I would say like, watashi no uchi, all right? Like that was basically the extent of my Japanese. And, you know, uchi wa doko. And this guy would just look at me and he would just start spouting off in Japanese. I had no idea what he's saying. Anyway, so he just like motioned for me to get in the car. So I was like, I've been walking for a couple hours. Why not? So I get in the car with this old man, and he actually drives us to I think karaoke bar would be maybe giving too elaborate of a scenario, more like a snack bar where people sing karaoke. And again, I don't even know what town we're in. It's not like there's that many towns or that many buildings for that matter. So old man takes me to a snack bar because he wants to sing songs. I assume that's what he wants. I'm hoping he wasn't actually at some point going to try and, you know, take my kidneys or something. I figured it was Japan, right? Low chance of that. Um, so yeah, we sang karaoke for the next couple hours, and uh, he actually took me right to my apartment because, again, this is rural Japan, and there's only one English teacher in the town where I live at, and everyone already knew where that English teacher would live because that's where all the foreigners go, right? It's like that's the one apartment where he is. So that was my very first lesson in Japan, which was, well, not my very first, but what, a week into it. And it's like, hey, get lost. Old man will pick you up in a car. You're going to have to sing some songs, but you'll make your way home. And that kind of actually was the was a good way to set the stage for the next 2 years of my life in Japan.